Have you ever paused to ask yourself, can God be the creator of himself? At first glance, this question might seem paradoxical, perhaps even nonsensical. Yet it lies at the heart of some of humanity's most profound debates. Philosophers, theologians, and even scientists have wrestled with such ideas for centuries, not merely out of curiosity, but as an exploration of the boundaries of logic, existence, and the divine. This isn't just a philosophical exercise. It's a challenge to how we perceive reality itself. For some, it's a question about God's omnipotence. For others, it's about the limits of human understanding. And so we ask, is this a legitimate inquiry, or does it point to the constraints of language and thought? Defining the key concepts. To begin, we must establish the foundational terms. 1. Causality, cause and effect. Causality is the relationship between a cause and its effect. In everyday life, everything seems to have a cause. Every fire has a spark, and every ripple in a pond begins with a stone. This principle, however, becomes increasingly complex when applied to the idea of God. If everything must have a cause, does this mean God too requires a creator? Or does the divine exist outside this principle? 2. Necessary being. Many philosophical traditions describe God as a necessary being. In simple terms, this means God's existence is not contingent on anything else. Unlike humans or objects, whose existence depends on external factors, God is self-sufficient, eternal, and independent. This idea challenges the very framework of causality because a necessary being, by definition, cannot be caused. 3. Timelessness. Another critical concept is timelessness. Most religions and philosophies argue that God exists beyond the constraints of time. Time, as we understand it, involves beginnings and ends, past and future. If God exists outside time, then the idea of creation as we know it may not apply. God could exist in a state where causality and time are irrelevant. These concepts form the backbone of our inquiry, yet they immediately reveal the limitations of our understanding. As humans, we experience time, causality, and dependency daily, making it difficult, if not impossible, to imagine a being that transcends them. The paradox of human logic. Let's pause for a moment and consider our tools of thought: language, logic, and reason. While these tools have allowed us to build civilizations and unlock the mysteries of the universe, they are inherently limited. They are products of the human experience, shaped by the physical and temporal realities we inhabit. When we apply these tools to questions about the divine, we often encounter paradoxes. For instance, the question, can God create a stone so heavy that he cannot lift it, highlights the limitations of our reasoning. Similarly, asking whether God can create himself forces us to confront the boundary where logic falters. In many ways, this isn't just a question about God, it's a question about us. How far can human thought go? Are there truths that lie beyond the reach of our understanding? Conclusion to stage 1. The question, can God be the creator of himself, challenges the core of how we think about existence, causality, and divinity. It's a question that has no easy answer, and perhaps no answer at all. However, it's a starting point, a gateway to deeper inquiry and reflection. In our next stages, we will explore how different religions and philosophies have approached this question, examining whether their answers bring clarity or more complexity. For now, let us leave the question open, as it is meant to be, not for resolution but for reflection. Stage 2, expanding the philosophical foundations. Topic, can God be the creator of himself? Introduction, bridging the abstract and the concrete. As we delve deeper into the question, can God be the creator of himself, we must expand our perspective beyond simple definitions and explore the philosophical depths. This question challenges not only the concept of God, but also the framework of human reasoning. It asks us to consider the possibility of existence beyond causality, beyond time, and perhaps even beyond the boundaries of thought itself. To navigate this profound inquiry, we will explore the perspectives of influential philosophers, ancient and modern, while keeping an open mind to the intersections of logic, metaphysics, and theology. Part 1. The classical philosophers on causality and divinity. Aristotle's unmoved mover. Aristotle, one of history's greatest thinkers, introduced the concept of the unmoved mover in his work Metaphysics. According to Aristotle, everything in the universe is in motion, and every motion requires a cause. However, this chain of causation cannot regress infinitely. At some point, there must be an initial cause, a prime mover, that itself is not moved or caused by anything else. For Aristotle, this unmoved mover is not a creator in the sense of a deity who actively shapes the world, but rather a necessary existence that sets everything into motion through its sheer perfection. In this framework, the question of God creating himself becomes irrelevant because God, as the unmoved mover, is eternal and uncaused. Plotinus and the One. Plotinus, a philosopher of the Neoplatonist tradition, described a similar concept in his vision of the One. For Plotinus, the One is the source of all existence, utterly simple and beyond comprehension. It does not create in a physical sense, but emanates existence. This emanation is not an act of will or effort, but an inevitable consequence of the One's nature. Therefore, the One cannot create itself because it has always existed. It is beyond being and non-being, existing as a reality that transcends such distinctions. St. Thomas Aquinas built upon Aristotle's framework, integrating it with Christian theology. In his Summa Theologica, Aquinas argued that God is the necessary being, upon which all contingent beings depend. He described God as self-sufficient, eternal, and uncaused. Aquinas' perspective emphasizes God's nature as fundamentally different from that of creation. The question of God creating himself, according to Aquinas, would be nonsensical because it assumes God is subject to the same constraints as creation. For Aquinas, God exists outside of time and causality, making such questions irrelevant. Islamic philosophers like Ibn Sina, Avicenna, and al-Farabi offered similar arguments, emphasizing God's nature as wajib al-wujud, necessary existence. Ibn Sina's metaphysical framework divides existence into contingent beings and a necessary being, with God as the latter. Ibn Sina argued that the necessary being is self-existent and cannot be caused. To ask whether God created himself would contradict the essence of God as necessarily existing. Similarly, al-Farabi highlighted that God's existence is not subject to time or sequence, further challenging the coherence of such a question. Part 3. Modern Philosophy and the Limits of Reason. Kant's critique of pure reason. Immanuel Kant revolutionized philosophy by examining the limits of human understanding. In his critique of pure reason, Kant argued that human reason is confined to phenomena, things as they appear to us. The noumenon, or the thing in itself, lies beyond the grasp of reason. When applied to the question of God creating himself, Kant's framework suggests that such questions may exceed our cognitive capacities. God, as a noumenal entity, exists beyond time, causality, and human comprehension. Therefore, the very act of questioning God's creation may reflect the limitations of our reason, rather than a genuine inquiry. Hegel's dialectical process. Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel, on the other hand, offered a different perspective. For Hegel, reality unfolds through a dialectical process, a series of contradictions and resolutions that drive the development of ideas and existence. Hegel might interpret the question of God creating himself as a dialectical challenge. It confronts the contradiction between causality and self-sufficiency, pushing us to reconsider our assumptions about the nature of existence and divinity. While Hegel does not directly address this question, his philosophy invites us to explore how such contradictions can lead to higher truths. Part 4. Contemporary Perspectives and Science. Process Theology and the Evolution of God. Process theology, a modern theological movement, views God not as a static being, but as a dynamic process. Inspired by Alfred North Whitehead's philosophy, process theologians argue that God evolves with the universe, interacting with creation in a reciprocal relationship. This perspective challenges traditional notions of God as unchanging and eternal. However, even in process theology, the idea of God creating himself remains problematic. While God may evolve, his existence is still assumed to be foundational and uncaused. Quantum mechanics and beyond. In the realm of science, quantum mechanics has challenged our understanding of causality and existence. Phenomena like quantum entanglement and particle wave duality suggest that the universe operates on principles that defy classical logic. Some thinkers have speculated that these principles might offer insights into the nature of divinity. Could God exist in a state analogous to quantum superposition, simultaneously being the cause and the effect? While such ideas remain speculative, they highlight the potential for science to reshape our understanding of philosophical questions. Part 5. Reconciling philosophy and theology. The tension between logic and faith. The question of whether God can create himself embodies the tension between logic and faith. Logic demands coherence and consistency, while faith often embraces mystery and paradox. Throughout history, thinkers have navigated this tension, offering diverse interpretations of God's nature. For some, the question reveals the limitations of human reasoning. For others, it underscores the need for faith in the face of the unknown. Reconciling these perspectives requires humility, a recognition that our understanding is finite, while the divine may be infinite. A shift in perspective. Perhaps the question itself needs reframing. Instead of asking whether God can create himself, we might ask, what does this question reveal about us? It exposes our reliance on causality and sequence, challenging us to imagine existence beyond these constraints. This shift in perspective does not resolve the question, but transforms it into an opportunity for growth and reflection. It invites us to embrace the mystery of existence, not as a problem to be solved, but as a reality to be explored. Conclusion. A path to deeper inquiry. The question, can God be the creator of himself, remains as perplexing as ever. It challenges our assumptions, stretches our reasoning, and invites us to confront the limits of our understanding. Yet in doing so, it opens the door to profound insights about existence, causality, and the divine. As we continue this exploration, we will examine the perspectives of different religions, their interpretations of God's nature, and how they address or avoid this enigmatic question. For now, let us remain in awe of the mystery and complexity of the divine, embracing the journey of inquiry with open hearts and minds. Stage 3. Religious interpretations of divine self-creation. Topic: Can God be the creator of himself? Introduction. The intersection of religion and philosophy. Religious traditions across the world have grappled with profound questions about God's nature, often venturing into areas where human reason falters. Among these, the question, can God be the creator of himself, stands out as both provocative and deeply challenging. While philosophy provides tools of logic and metaphysics, religion offers revelations, scripture, and faith-based interpretations to address such enigmas. In this stage, we explore how major world religions, including Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, and Buddhism, have approached this question, examining their sacred texts, theological frameworks, and the interplay between reason and faith. Part 1. Islam, the Eternal Creator. The concept of Al-Awwal and Al-Akhir, the first and the last. In Islam, God is described in the Quran as Al-Awwal, the first, and Al-Akhir, the last. This signifies that God exists beyond the bounds of time and causality. Surah Al-Hadid 3 states, "He is the first and the last, the ascendant and the intimate, and He is, of all things, knowing." This verse encapsulates the Islamic perspective that God is eternal, without a beginning or end, and independent of creation. The notion of God creating himself is irrelevant in this framework because God exists outside the sequence of cause and effect. Tawheed and divine simplicity. The doctrine of Tawheed, the oneness of God, emphasizes God's indivisibility and self-sufficiency. Islamic theology views God as an uncaused cause, inherently eternal and perfect. Scholars like Ibn Taymiyyah and Al-Ghazali rejected the idea of God being subject to creation, arguing that such a notion contradicts the essence of divine perfection. Philosophical insights from Islamic thinkers, Ibn Sina, Avicenna, introduced the concept of necessary existence in Islamic metaphysics, positing that God's existence is essential and uncaused. This aligns with the Quranic description of God as eternal and self-sustaining. The question of self-creation, therefore, is considered a misunderstanding of God's nature. Part 2. Christianity. The Trinity and eternal being, the concept of I am in the Bible. In Christianity, God reveals himself in the Old Testament as Yahweh, often translated as I am, Exodus 3:14. This self-identification suggests an eternal, self-existent being who transcends time and causality. The doctrine of the Trinity. The Christian doctrine of the Trinity, God as Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, presents a unique perspective on divine nature. While the Trinity emphasizes relational aspects within the Godhead, it does not imply creation within the divine. Instead, it portrays God as eternally existent in three persons, unified and uncaused. Theological perspectives on self-creation. St. Augustine argued that God is eternal and unchanging, existing outside time and space. In his work Confessions, he reflects on God's nature as self-sufficient and perfect. You were and are, and your years do not fail, for you are eternal. For Augustine and subsequent Christian theologians like Aquinas, the idea of God creating himself is not only unnecessary but also incompatible with the nature of divine eternity. Part 3. Judaism, the uncaused cause. The Shema and divine oneness. Judaism, like Islam, emphasizes the oneness of God. The Shema prayer, central to the Jewish faith, declares, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one." Deuteronomy 6:4. This oneness implies self-sufficiency and eternal existence, rejecting the possibility of God being created, even by himself. Philosophical insights from Jewish thinkers. Philosophers like Maimonides explored the nature of God in works such as the Guide for the Perplexed. Maimonides emphasized God's incorporeality and eternal existence, arguing that any notion of self-creation undermines God's perfection and unity. Biblical narratives and divine eternity. The Hebrew Bible often describes God as the creator of all things, without reference to his own origin. This silence on the matter reinforces the idea of God as an uncaused, eternal being. Part 4. Hinduism, the eternal cycle of creation. Brahman as the ultimate reality. In Hinduism, the concept of Brahman represents the ultimate reality, eternal, infinite, and unchanging. Brahman is not a creator in the conventional sense, but the source from which all existence emanates. Self-manifestation versus self-creation. Hindu texts like the Upanishads describe the universe as a manifestation of Brahman. This is not creation ex nihilo, creation from nothing, but an unfolding of what is already inherent in Brahman. The notion of self-creation is replaced with self-manifestation, reflecting the cyclical nature of existence in Hindu philosophy. Avatars and the divine play. The concept of avatars, or divine incarnations, in Hinduism illustrates how the divine interacts with the world. While avatars like Krishna are considered manifestations of the eternal Brahman, they do not imply self-creation in the sense of a temporal cause. Part 5. Buddhism, beyond the concept of God. The nature of existence in Buddhism. Buddhism does not posit a creator God, but instead focuses on the nature of existence itself. Concepts like anatta, non-self, and dependent origination emphasize that all phenomena arise through interdependent causes and conditions. The question of divine creation. For Buddhism, the question of whether God can create himself is largely irrelevant. Instead, Buddhist philosophy invites us to transcend such questions by understanding the impermanent and interconnected nature of existence. Parallels to other religious views. While Buddhism does not affirm a creator God, its insights into causality and interdependence resonate with metaphysical discussions in other traditions. Part 6. Interfaith perspectives and common themes. Eternal existence across traditions. Despite their differences, major religious traditions converge on the idea of God, or ultimate reality, as eternal and self-sufficient. This shared perspective reinforces the rejection of self-creation as a meaningful concept. Mystery and faith religions often embrace mystery as an inherent aspect of divine nature. The inability to fully comprehend God's existence is not seen as a limitation, but as an invitation to faith and wonder. The question, can God be the creator of himself, challenges us to explore the limits of human understanding and the mysteries of divine existence. Across religious traditions, the consensus emerges: God is eternal, uncaused, and beyond the constraints of time and causality. This exploration invites us not only to reflect on God's nature, but also to recognize the profound humility required in contemplating the infinite. As we continue this journey, let us embrace the awe and mystery that accompany our search for truth. Stage 4. Reconciling logic, faith, and mystery. Topic: Can God be the creator of himself? Introduction: a continuum of exploration. As we move forward in this journey, the tension between logic, faith, and the profound mystery of divine existence becomes even more apparent. Each perspective, philosophical, theological, and scientific, contributes valuable insights, yet none can fully resolve the enigma. This stage seeks to weave these threads together, offering a broader framework for understanding the limits of human thought and the infinite nature of divinity. Part 1. The human mind and the boundaries of logic. The limitations of human reasoning. Human logic, rooted in causality and linear thinking, is a product of our experience within the physical universe. It is a tool designed for problem solving, not necessarily for comprehending the infinite. Philosophers like Immanuel Kant have emphasized that our cognitive faculties are bound by phenomena, what we can perceive and process. Concepts like eternity, self-existence, or infinite causation lie beyond this domain. For example, the question, "Can God create himself?" is predicated on assumptions of time and sequence, concepts that may not apply to a being existing beyond time. Thus, this question might not reveal anything about God, but instead about the limits of our reasoning. Gödel's incompleteness theorems. Mathematician Kurt Gödel demonstrated that any sufficiently complex logical system contains propositions that cannot be proven within the system itself. Applied to theology, Gödel's insights suggest that questions about God's nature might fall outside the logical system of human understanding. The role of paradoxes. Paradoxes, like "Can God create a stone so heavy he cannot lift it?" or "Can God create himself?" are not failures of divine nature, but reflections of the constraints of language and thought. These paradoxes challenge us to consider that some truths might exist outside the binary framework of yes or no, cause or effect. Part 2. The intersection of faith and mystery. Embracing the mystery. Faith traditions often approach the divine not as a problem to be solved, but as a mystery to be embraced. Christianity, for instance, speaks of the mystery of faith, where believers accept truths that transcend human understanding. Similarly, Sufi mystics in Islam celebrate God's incontestability, referring to him as Al-Ghaib, the unseen. Faith as an act of humility. Faith involves acknowledging the limits of human knowledge and placing trust in what lies beyond. This humility contrasts with the philosophical drive for certainty, but complements it by opening doors to experiences and truths inaccessible through reason alone. Mysticism and direct experience. Mystical traditions across religions emphasize direct experiences of the divine, bypassing logical inquiry. Whether through meditation, prayer, or contemplation, these practices reveal a dimension of existence that transcends questions like self-creation. For mystics, God's nature is not a riddle to solve, but a reality to encounter. Part 3. The scientific perspective on existence. Science and the nature of reality. Modern science, particularly in fields like quantum mechanics and cosmology, has uncovered phenomena that defy classical logic. For example, particles can exist in superposition, being in multiple states simultaneously. The universe may have originated from a singularity, a state where conventional laws of physics break down. These insights suggest that our understanding of causality and existence is incomplete. Could these principles offer analogies for comprehending divine nature? Time and eternity in physics. Einstein's theory of relativity revealed that time is not absolute but relative, depending on factors like gravity and velocity. If time itself is a construct, then the idea of a being existing outside time becomes more plausible. This aligns with theological descriptions of God as eternal and unchanging. The limits of science. While science can expand our understanding of the universe, it cannot address metaphysical questions about God's nature. Science operates within the realm of observable phenomena, whereas questions about self-creation pertain to the unobservable and transcendent. Bridging the gap between logic and faith. Philosophers like Søren Kierkegaard argued that faith begins where reason ends. For Kierkegaard, the leap of faith is not irrational, but a necessary step to embrace truths that reason alone cannot reach. Similarly, contemporary thinkers suggest that logic and faith are not adversaries, but complementary tools for exploring existence. The role of metaphor. Metaphors serve as bridges between the finite and the infinite. When religious texts describe God as the first and the last, or the creator, they use language adapted to human understanding. These metaphors do not fully capture God's essence, but provide a framework for approaching the divine. A dialectical resolution. Hegel's dialectical method suggests that contradictions, like those posed by self-creation, are not dead ends but opportunities for synthesis. By engaging with these contradictions, we refine our understanding of existence and approach higher truths. Part 5. An open invitation to inquiry. The importance of asking questions. The question, "Can God be the creator of himself?" may not have a definitive answer, but its value lies in the act of questioning. Such inquiries push the boundaries of thought, encouraging humility, wonder, and intellectual growth. Engaging diverse perspectives. Each perspective, whether philosophical, religious, or scientific, adds depth to our understanding. Together, they form a mosaic of insights, each incomplete yet meaningful. By engaging with these perspectives, we honor the complexity of existence and the mystery of the divine. An endless journey. The pursuit of understanding is an endless journey. As finite beings, we may never fully grasp the infinite, but the effort itself enriches our lives and deepens our connection to the cosmos. In our exploration, we have traversed the realms of logic, faith, and science, encountering profound insights and enduring mysteries. The question of whether God can create himself remains unanswered, yet it continues to inspire thought, dialogue, and reverence for the unknown. As we conclude this stage, let us carry forward the spirit of inquiry, embracing the paradoxes and mysteries that define our existence. The journey itself, rather than the destination, is where meaning lies. As we approach the culmination of this exploration, it becomes clear that the question, "Can God be the creator of himself?" is not just a paradox, but a gateway to deeper understanding. Across the realms of philosophy, religion, and science, we have encountered profound insights that challenge our perceptions of time, causality, and divinity. In this stage, we aim to synthesize what we've learned, drawing actionable lessons and addressing lingering questions. By the end, we hope to transform this philosophical enigma into a meaningful journey of intellectual and spiritual growth. Part 1. Recapping the core insights. 1. Philosophy. Philosophical inquiry has shown us that causality, concepts like the unmoved mover, Aristotle, and necessary being, Aquinas, emphasize that God exists beyond causality. Reason's limits. Thinkers like Kant remind us that human logic is bounded by our experience, making divine mysteries inherently elusive. Dialectics. Hegel's framework suggests that contradictions, such as self-creation, can lead to higher truths through synthesis. 2. Religion. Religious traditions reveal that God's eternity, Islam's Allah wal akhir, Christianity's I am, and Hinduism's Brahman all highlight the eternal, uncreated nature of God. Faith's role. Religion often invites believers to embrace the mystery of divine nature, seeing questions like self-creation as transcending human comprehension. 3. Science. Scientific perspectives enrich our understanding by questioning time and causality. Quantum mechanics and relativity challenge classical notions of time and causation, offering analogies for divine existence. Acknowledging limits. Science excels at explaining phenomena within the universe, but cannot fully address metaphysical questions about the divine. 1. Why does this question matter? This question forces us to confront the very nature of existence and divinity. It encourages humility, recognizing that some truths lie beyond our grasp, and curiosity, pushing us to explore the boundaries of knowledge. 2. Can we ever fully understand? While a definitive answer may elude us, the pursuit of understanding is valuable in itself. By engaging with such questions, we deepen our awareness of life's complexities and enrich our intellectual and spiritual lives. 3. Is the question itself flawed? Some traditions argue that the question presumes God operates within human constructs like time and causality. Instead, we might consider reframing the question. What does it mean for God to be eternal and uncreated? Part 3. Lessons for Life and Thought. 1. The importance of humility. This inquiry reminds us of the limits of human understanding. Whether in science, philosophy, or theology, humility is essential when approaching questions that transcend our experience. 2. The value of interdisciplinary thinking. By combining insights from philosophy, religion, and science, we gain a richer, more nuanced understanding of existence. Each discipline offers unique tools and perspectives that, when integrated, provide a more complete picture. 3. Embracing mystery. Rather than fearing or avoiding the unknown, we can see it as an invitation to wonder and exploration. The mystery of God's nature encourages us to seek, question, and grow. Part 4. Practical applications. 1. Encouraging thoughtful inquiry. Questions like this one foster critical thinking and intellectual curiosity. By engaging with such inquiries, we develop the skills to tackle complex problems in all areas of life. 2. Strengthening faith and philosophy. For those with religious beliefs, this exploration deepens faith by emphasizing God's transcendence. For others, it strengthens philosophical rigor by challenging assumptions and expanding perspectives. Number 3. Connecting science and spirituality. Bridging science and spirituality fosters a holistic worldview where the empirical and the metaphysical coexist. This integration can inspire new ways of thinking about the universe and our place within it. Part 5. Moving forward with purpose. 1. The eternal search. While this question remains unanswered, it serves as a reminder that the journey of inquiry is itself meaningful. The pursuit of understanding is an act of reverence for the mysteries of existence. 2. Engaging with others. Sharing these ideas with others fosters dialogue and mutual growth. Whether in academic, religious, or personal contexts, discussing such questions builds bridges between diverse perspectives. 3. Reflecting on the infinite. Ultimately, this question invites us to reflect on the infinite, on God, the universe, and the nature of existence itself. It challenges us to think beyond our limits and to embrace the wonder of what lies beyond. Conclusion: a synthesis of thought and spirit. As we conclude this stage, we see that the question, "Can God be the creator of himself?" is not just about God, but about us. It reveals the boundaries of our understanding, the depths of our curiosity, and the beauty of the unknown. In the next section, we will dive deeper into specific examples, drawing from sacred texts, philosophical writings, and scientific theories to illustrate these ideas further. For now, let us carry forward the lessons of humility, curiosity, and wonder as we continue this journey together. As we reach the conclusion of this journey into the profound question, "Can God be the creator of himself?" I want to take a moment to share something personal. Every idea presented here, every perspective explored, and every reflection offered comes from a place of genuine curiosity and deep engagement with the philosophies, religions, and scientific concepts I've studied over the years. This exploration is not the product of detached research, but of a heartfelt journey, one shaped by countless hours of reading, questioning, and trying to make sense of the vast tapestry of human thought. My aim has always been to approach such topics with an open mind, drawing connections where they might seem unexpected and inviting new questions where answers seem incomplete. However, I must acknowledge the limits of my understanding. These ideas, as thoughtful as they may be, are still interpretations, filtered through my own experiences, beliefs, and perceptions. If you, as a viewer, feel there's an idea I've missed, a perspective that could enrich this discussion, or even a correction that might make these reflections more accurate, I wholeheartedly welcome your input. Let this be not just my exploration, but ours, a shared conversation that evolves through our collective insights. Your engagement means the world to me. Whether it's by leaving a comment, sharing this video, or simply pondering these ideas, you're contributing to something larger, a community of thinkers united by a desire to understand, question, and grow. If you found value in this content, I invite you to support this channel. Together, we can continue to explore the mysteries of existence, the depths of human thought, and the connections that bind us all. Subscribe, share your thoughts, and join me in making these discussions richer, more inclusive, and more meaningful. Thank you for watching, for thinking, and for being part of this journey. Let's continue to question, reflect, and grow together. With gratitude, the creator of FactUp Realm,